Hi everyone, looks like we are in. So welcome to today's session of UPSC Buffet by Gallant IAS. So stay tuned. We'll be discussing, this will be our last session regarding the outlier questions, and next week onwards we'll be focusing on the subject-wise approach, which can help you level up your knowledge and approach, and this will be more useful for veteran aspirants and also for beginners to learn and also to manage your studies and to make your studies in such a way that it fits the exam demand more aptly. Okay, so whatever things you have learned or whatever things you are planning to learn, try to learn those sort of things in the lens of these PYQs and the insights that we are going to discuss in these coming sessions starting next week. So this is going to be our last session about the outliers. So stay tuned and we are going to begin. First one, Moringa drumstick tree is a leguminous evergreen tree. Okay, tamarind tree is endemic to South Asia. In India, most of the tamarind is collected as finer forest produce. India exports tamarind and seeds of moringa. Seeds of moringa and tamarind can be used in production of biofuels. Right off the bat, we all know what tamarind is. We use it in our cuisine, and we have seen the tree and everything. Most of the things we might know about it. Also about the drumstick tree. The issue is that a statement of drumstick tree is given, then tamarind is given, and then a combination of these two are given in the subsequent statements. So we need to find something to eliminate, because the options has got less than 4 and less than 4 options in the choices. So that's one thing. So the elimination is possible in this particular question. That is there. We have to find out the wrong one. Moringa drumstick tree is a leguminous evergreen tree. We know moringa and where it usually grows. Is it and the kind of leaf structure it has? Does it resemble an evergreen tree or a deciduous tree for that matter? That's the first thing we need to have an idea about. Had this been something else, something that we haven't seen or anything, it would have become a little more difficult. But since we have seen, there is a good chance that we have come across moringa tree, the drumstick tree. There is a good chance that we know how the leaves look like. Leaves are smaller and sheds the leaf very often. They grow and they are not very thick in nature. They kind of tend to fall down as they grow up. So things like that are not very characteristic of a evergreen tree. Leguminous part, I don't know whether this is a leguminous tree. Maybe, but I don't think so. But the evergreen part of it is most likely wrong. There's a good chance it could be wrong. So going by the options, if we can find that one is wrong, we can arrive at the answer. But just don't do that right away. Let's look at it. Look at the other options also. So tamarind tree is endemic to South Asia. Oh, that's once again a difficult part, because it's endemic to South Asia, meaning it's not found anywhere else. But imagine, can that be found in other places as well? As in, tamarind tree doesn't seem like something that is extremely endemic like the red sanders or other plants or trees that we see here. That's chances are less, because the tamarind is used in cuisine across the world, in Africa, in Southeast Asia, in other parts of South Asia, things like that. So it could be wrong also. Second could also be wrong. There is a good chance for that. But again, we are not really sure. So let's look at the other statements and see something that we can be a little more sure of. In India, most of the tamarind is collected as minor forest produced. Makes sense, because there is no MSP system for tamarind in place, and tamarind grows as a tree, and people tend to collect it as they fall down, and there is a good chance for that. Of course, there will be plantations or something like growing tamarind tree, but tamarind, by the nature of the tamarind, because people usually collect it. It's a big tree, so people usually collect it, and we don't usually grow tamarind for that matter. It's mostly collected as a minor forest produce. There is a chance for that. Okay, again, this is not very confidence inspiring. Then focus on the next question, next statement. India exports tamarind and seeds of moringa. Okay. Tamarind seed and moringa seeds, they have got medicinal, nutritional and other values. So there is a good chance 4 is being right. 4 being right is a very possible situation. So we can eliminate the options that doesn't have 4. So meaning A, B, C, we have correct. Seeds of moringa and tamarind can be used in the production of biofuels. It is saying that it can be, and also it is not saying biodiesel or bioethanol. So since a general statement is given with us biofuels and not a specific one like biodiesel or bioethanol, we can actually take this statement as right, because this only says about the possibility of seeds of tamarind and moringa being used for biofuels. So this could be right also. So 4 and 5 could be right. So take the statement that has got both 4 and 5. So we eliminated C. Then 4 and 5. So we have to choose between 1, 2, 4, 5, then 3, 4, 5. Among these 3, there is no 3 in the statement number 1, and there is no 1 and 2 in B. So if 1 is right, then 2 is right, and if 1 is right, then 3 is not right. So we have to choose between the first 3 statements and choose the one that is more likely, or eliminate the ones that are less likely. Right off the bat, like I said, moringa, by the looks of it, it doesn't seem like an evergreen tree. So I will be focusing on that, and I will be eliminating 1, and thereby I will be arriving at the answer B. If you could do that, and if you are just eliminating that statement, and you can arrive at the answer, but the issue is that sentences and options wouldn't be given in such a way that maybe only 1, only 2 will be there. So we have to go by eliminating 1 by 1. So that's how it works. That's why I gave the entire thought process here. So try to stick to this thought process and make it little faster. Just seeing this and eliminating it's not the right strategy or the mature strategy to begin with. So I would recommend you go by the statements, then choose the right ones, and then try to eliminate it, and considering the options. So in this particular question, we were able to eliminate options without 4. So this was gone. Then we were able to eliminate statements that doesn't have 5. So this is gone. Then we are left with these 2, and among these, the most probable or one that could seem wrong was this statement. So 1 was eliminated, and we arrived at the answer. So that's it. 63B. Takeaway from these kind of statements is that just go through the PYQs and the species or the trees. PYQ, trees and trees, plants mentioned, and find their origin, where they actually originated from, or endemic to, or belong to, etc. Find their origin, whether they are introduced by the colonial powers. Okay, this is the takeaway from this statement, this question, because this really helps. You have come across questions like cashew, papaya, how these things are native to our country, our subcontinent, and other questions like which of the following have been introduced from the old world to the new world, things like that. You need to have an idea. For that, going through the PYQ will help, because there will be a pattern for that. About cocoa and all, there will be a pattern, because a question related to cocoa was asked in the past. So having an idea about that, and there are only not much species or plants are mentioned. If you take at least I think 6 or 7 years PYQ, there will be maximum of 15 plant species maximum, and just have an idea about their origin, and this will be able to, you will be able to eliminate some questions regarding that. So it's very rewarding in that matter. So just do this. So that's about it. Then move on. What was the purpose of intercreditor agreement signed by Indian banks and financial institutions recently? So this was a current affair back then, I think in 2021, I guess. So it was an intercreditor agreement. Okay. This obviously wasn't current affairs, and people who might have read about it will be able to go to the answer right away. But even without that, let's give it a try. To lessen the government of India's perennial burden of fiscal deficit and current account deficit. Oh, that's if you know something about economy, this is something like a very far-fetched thing, considering signed by Indian banks and financial institutions. Like, to lessening the burden, putting that burden or the tasking financial institutions to reduce the burden of fiscal deficit and current account deficit. Fiscal deficit basically means the revenue deficit, the revenue receipts versus revenue expenditure, the difference between that. There is absolutely very less chance of something like this being connected to India's fiscal situation. This is an entirely government thing. Of course, banks can play a role, but this seems very far-fetched if you know fiscal deficit, what fiscal deficit means, and the actions that are needed or the causes of that. So this is outright wrong. To support the infrastructure projects of central and state governments, inter-creditor agreement. Okay, for infrastructure constructions, there need to be there will be creditors, and there needs to be some sort of agreement with that. But we know that there are other models like BOT models, HAM models, things like that in place for infrastructure projects. So the creditor agreement by Indian banks and financial institutions recently, that seems less likely. Also remember, back in the day, this question came in the backdrop of NPA crisis. So NPA was always in the news, and this was one of the solutions addressed, or one of the programs government undertook to address the NPS. There are numerous programs, and this is one of that. So having that idea also really helps, but even without that, this seems very unlikely. Okay, but okay, it's not that this is outright wrong. This is, I'm not really sure it's wrong, but the chance of it being right is less. To act as independent regulators in case of applications for loans of 50 crore or more. Okay, 50 crore is mentioned. Okay, that is something. And to act as independent regulator. Okay, to aim at faster resolution of stressed assets of 50 crore or more which are under consortium relation. Okay, again 2 times 50 crore is mentioned, meaning most likely either of these statement is right. There is one statement that is right, and they have framed another statement that seems like the first one with adding the 50 crore, so as to slightly make it harder for the aspirant. So by the UPSC trend, either C or D you should be sticking with C or D, because this seems less likely, and also acting as independent regulator for loans and all, this seems very much in line with an intercreditor agreement of a bank. Again, faster resolution of stressed asset seems more probable. Yeah. So just dive deep into these last 2 statements. To act as independent regulators in case of applications for loans of 50 crore or more. How come the possibility of government, the regulator part of government being transferred to not government, RBI being transferred to banks to analyze that, or to conduct a cost benefit for applications of loans for 50 crore or more seems less likely actually, because banks with an agreement being an independent regulator, it's possible but not very practical in terms of application of loans, because application of loans with 50 crore or more can have an impact on the economy, and bad loans can lead to more further worsening of NPA crisis, and there is a good chance that independent body outside the banks or outside the bank system will be monitoring that. They themselves won't be monitoring that, because there will be a conflict of interest. So this seems less likely. To aim at faster resolution of stressed assets, okay, of 50 crore or more which are under consortium lending. Okay, something that is under consortium. Consortium means a group of people lending. That's consortium lending. Group of people, banks or financial institutions lending, and to aim at faster resolution. This kind of makes sense, because imagine the scenario: a couple of banks and institutions have given some person or an entity loan that is worth more than 50 crore, and to resolve that thing, had they gone bankrupt, and to resolve that, an agreement needs to be made between these creditors who made money for that particular defaulter. So considering that scenario, this is a very possible thing. An intercreditor agreement could actually mean that the creditors, there is an agreement between the creditors who have lent some money to the entity which is stressed, meaning it is going bankrupt and it is not able to pay. So for a resolution of such a resolution in such a situation, an agreement is needed between the creditors, and that kind of makes sense with the fourth statement. So this could be right. These two are anyways not right, and this is less, and this makes very much sense when read in regard with the intercreditor agreement. So this could be right. That's how I arrive at the answer. Then moving on, next question. Okay, consider the following pairs. It's North Kivu, Ituri, war between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Reason for being in news. Okay, Nagorno-Karabakh, insurgency in Mozambique, Kherson and Zaporizhia, dispute between Israel and Lebanon. Okay, this is where actually etymology or having an idea about places or the naming of places really comes handy. If you have heard, or if you have been reading current affairs and you have been coming across names of places, you know there is a certain similarity to places from certain regions. For example, in African region, places will have a certain kind of name. Of course, there will be diversity, and there will be colonial inputs, colonial impact, influence that is there. But still, if you are discussing about places, or if you come across places, try to observe the similarities with naming everything. For example, regions in Russia-Ukraine war, most of the regions that are been in news, like Kursk, Minsk, Donbass, then Luhansk, things like that, they are very much Russian and Ukrainian in origin. The naming and everything is very much Russian and Ukrainian in origin. Same way, go to the Nordic state, there will be Okjokul, the name of glaciers, and there will be use of K and J and fjord. Those kind of terms, they are used in the Nordic countries. So having an idea about that will help you, kind of make a guess, a calculated guess about the places that they actually they are geographically located. So North Kivu and Ituri, this doesn't seem or feel like a place that is in the Central Asian region or the Armenia-Azerbaijan region, something that's surrounding Caspian Sea. It could be, but again, there is one more thing. Nagorno-Karabakh, we all know, it's a war between Armenia and Azerbaijan. So two should be directly connected to this. That's the first thing. This is something that you need to know, and you might have obviously known, because this has always been in news back in the day. Right now it's not that much. The current Russia-Ukraine war, we come across a few regions every day. The same way Nagorno-Karabakh was always in news during the high time of that war. So that's one thing. So Nagorno-Karabakh should be connected to this one. So obviously, if that's mismatched, then this is also mismatched. So this is gone and this is gone. So options, all three, only two are gone right away, because UPSC has made it a little bit easier with this Nagorno-Karabakh. So one, only two, all three are gone. Either this is right or nothing is right. Then the last statement, Kherson and Zaporizhia. Going by the name, and Israel and Lebanon, they are in the Middle East, and the naming of that place you might know. Like it will be Hebron, Sheikh, Khan Yunis, Sheikh Lebanon, then Tel Aviv. That is kind of the names Israel will be having. Lebanon will be having names like Beirut, and other closer regions to Israel are also having similar names to Beirut, etc. Kherson and Zaporizhia, it sounds like a region in Russia or the Ukraine or the eastern part of Europe. It doesn't sound like a place from the Middle East. So I could obviously eliminate it. So that's how I arrive at the answer as D. Sometimes we can eliminate these options a little easily, even though this is only two are given, especially because Nagorno-Karabakh is mismatched. If that's mismatched, then another option will also be wrongly matched. So we can eliminate those two, and then we'll be arriving at one. And in the last statement, we might not, most of you might not know, because Israel-Lebanon crisis, the regions is not always outrightly discussed, except for the Beirut and Tel Aviv, things like that. It's not very much discussed. So there is a good chance that you might have missed, and thinking that you might have missed and this could be right is that is where having an idea about the language really helps. Kherson and Zaporizhia, with so many Z, P's, H and lengthy words, these are all characteristic of Eastern Europe, whether it be Ukraine, Belarus and for the most part Russia. So these are all Russian origin. So keep an eye on that with use of Z, P, Z, H and lengthy names of places. These are all characteristics of a Russian origin. So that's wrong, and answer is D. Just keep in mind of that. Okay. Try to identify pattern regarding names of places and their geographical location, like Africa, South America, then Middle East and Europe, especially Eastern and Nordic countries, Nordic region. This really helps. This Nordic, having an idea about Nordic region etymology and Eastern Europe etymology really helps. Eastern Europe. Okay. This is the takeaway from this particular question. Moving on, next question. The European Parliament approved the Net Zero Industry Act recently. Okay. Somebody who have read the current affairs might know, but I didn't know that. But European Union intends to achieve carbon neutrality by 2040 and therefore aims to develop all of its clean technology by that time. Oh, this seems a little far-fetched. That's one good thing about these sentence-based questions, statement-based questions, because most of the time they'll be giving something extreme to make it easy for us only, and something extreme, and most scenarios it will be wrong only, but don't think that it's wrong because it's extreme. But the likelihood of European Union intending to achieve carbon neutrality by 2040 and therefore aims to develop all of its clean technology by that time, in 2040, like it's hardly 15 years to go, and carbon neutrality by 2040, 2050, even India has the Indian target is 2070. So 2040 seems very far, like it's very near, and the possibility of doing that or achieving that is very less. Then developing all of its clean technology by that time, that is also very difficult. Clean technologies will take time and hardly 15 years to go, and this is going to be a very difficult and very ambitious target to a point that this seems unlikely. The dates might have changed to it might be some 2050, 2060 or 2070, I guess. So this is wrong. And since it's a statement question, it's very easy. If that's wrong, we'll get the answer as C. So that's it. Look for extreme statements. And viability of the plans or things mentioned. If they seem very far-fetched, then obviously it will be wrong. I think they have changed the date. That has changed the entire meaning of the second statement. That's why. So the answer is C. Moving on. The next question. Is it visible to you? Somebody please reply. It really helps if it's visible. Of course, there is some latency to it. You'll be getting this question 5 or 6 seconds later. So somebody please reply that whether the screens are visible and everything is right there. Okay, just text me. Just reply in the live chat. Then okay, next one. Consider the following airports. In the recent past, which of the above have been constructed as greenfield projects? This came like an absolute surprise. I think for most aspirants also it came as an absolute surprise. The only thing or the few things we knew about this particular question is that what are greenfield projects? Okay, that's something we learn in economy, basic stuff. And Donipol Airport, which has been constructed in the northeast, This is something that was in news. So Donio Polo Airport that has been constructed. I heard that, but I don't even remember exactly where Donio Polo Airport is. It's in Northeast, I know, and it has been recently constructed. And greenfield projects. So think about what are greenfield projects. Greenfield projects are having that idea really helps. Greenfield projects, brownfield projects. Just you need to have an idea about these while learning economy, and of course you might have learned. Greenfield projects are the ones where an entirely new architecture is being constructed, where there is no imagine government acquiring new land and building everything from scratch. On the other hand, brownfield constructions are like old or abandoned airstrips being revamped and reconstructed to use like an airport, say airport or anything, any building or anything that is already existing, but right now it's in a dormant state or less productive state, that has been taken over for improvement and increasing their productivity. That's brownfield. So a greenfield project means something that is completely new, are built right from the scratch, and that kind of give me an idea. This Vijayawada is a place. It's a place that I often come across as having some sort of airport association, because a lot of pilot trainings are happening nearby and a lot of pilot schools are there, which is some news I had. And given that they already had some sort of airport or some at least an airstrip will be there, so developing Vijayawada as a greenfield project seems unlikely. It will be a brownfield project only. That's the logic I had. So Vijayawada seems less likely, and I tried to eliminate Vijayawada, and all of these options are gone, and arrived at the answer A. In this particular question, one prerequisite knowledge I had was Vijayawada has got a lot of pilot schools and a lot of pilot training happening, because Telangana Hyderabad region is very much famous for these sort of airstrips, pilot practices, things like that. So Vijayawada is part of that. Vijayawada is closer to that, not very close, but Vijayawada is close to that, and Vijayawada itself has pilot training facilities. So the part of Vijayawada being developed into an international airport will be a brownfield project, not a greenfield project. So that's how I arrive at the answer as A. Okay, it's slightly on the knowledge side. Having some sort of knowledge helps, but you don't really know which all were developed as greenfield projects, and also it's slightly difficult to study all the airports or projects that are being constructed. But keep an eye on high altitude constructions, high altitude or challenging constructions. For example, the Worli Bandra coastal elevated highway or coastal highway, that's something that you need to keep an eye on. Whether it's developed as, of course it's a greenfield project, how it's connected and the time of its construction, things like that you need to have an idea, and of course have an idea about the constructions by border road organization. For example, like what was that, Atal Tunnel. Then one more thing is there, Atal Tunnel, then the railroad construction happening there, high altitude railways. Okay, just keep an eye on them. And if the question about high altitude things are asked, mostly it will be asked about this connects from, for example, Leh to connects from Manali to Leh, something of that sort will be asked, and it provides all weather connectivity, things like that will be asked. So just have an idea about that, and then connection is needed. Then one more thing is needed as the naming, or which pass or any other geographical feature that is adjacent to this particular tunnel, highway or railway for that matter is there. Okay, or if it holds any particular specialty, like the highest altitude, high altitude tunnels, the highest altitude in the world or the longest in the world, things like that. If it holds any significance like that, not just in the world, in India or Asia, if it holds any sort of significance, just note it down. Okay, that's it. Moving on. Next question. the organisms cicada, froghopper, pond skater are. Okay. Some people will be having some idea about it, because cicada is something we often come across, in films and other areas when it's connected to the Illuminatis or the secret societies. They use cicada, cicada rings, etc., with the cicada sigils. So having that idea itself will give you the answer as insects. Okay, if that particular knowledge is not there for you, you can think about it like pond skater. Pond skater means, the name itself means something that skates on the pond. Okay, something that's skating on the pond, meaning that it's very less likely to be a bird and a reptile. It could either be a fish or insect. And if you have really observed that, you can see that we have seen this pond skater, this particular organism. It looks like a thin version of a spider that just skates across the ponds or water bodies in general. So that's an insect. So I have two ideas. Cicada, from general, I haven't even read about it because I just came across it. The mentioning of cicada in regard to the Illuminatis and other secret societies, that is there. Then pond skater. Cicada is a moth. I don't know exactly whether it's a moth, but it's a moth-like insect. So pond skater is also an insect. I don't know what about froghopper. So it's 21C. Then next one. The vegetation of savanna consists of grassland with scattered small trees, but extensive areas have no trees. The forest development in such areas is generally kept in check by one or more or combination of some conditions. Which of the following are such conditions? So the question is like, why savanna grassland has that stereotypical savanna grassland outlook? Why does it have that? What are the reasons? Maybe because it doesn't have dense forest, it only has small trees, and extensive areas have no trees. You might have seen that in videos. So they are asking the reasons as to why it has that, or why is it like that. So we have got a lot of options. Borrowing of animals and termites. Okay, borrowing animals and termites causing the trees to fall, and thereby no trees are growing. But it seems not very likely. Okay, maybe possibility is there. Fire. Okay, fire is a good chance of fire being a limiting factor of growth of trees is there, because savanna region, it's very dry and they've got a lot of grass there, and frequent fires are there, and this can prevent the proper trees from growing up and the seeds from germinating, and the frequency of fire is so high that they don't get to be bigger. So that is there. Then grazing herbivores. Yeah, savanna region is full of herbivores that graze on the plant or the forage there. So the chances of a tree getting bigger in the vicinity of these large pool of grazing herbivores, it's difficult. So there is a good chance. So that giraffes, elephant, a lot of species of antelopes, wildebeest, and a lot of herbivores are there, and they'll be feeding on everything. And then their numbers are like huge, and so they will be feeding on everything, including the saplings that are growing up. So there is a good chance that no trees will be able to grow because of this large base of herbivores. This is not the case with evergreen forest. Evergreen forest doesn't have that large herbivore base. There will be mostly small species, and there will be large predators, and the areas where they feed are just small, and the base is not very large when it comes to evergreen forest. So that's a good chance. There's a good reason for that. So we can eliminate these two, and we can say that okay, it's either C or D. Okay. Then seasonal rainfall. Yeah, obviously that's very fundamental. Seasonal rainfall will definitely be there. Soil properties. Okay, that also makes sense. Some soil can limit the growth of trees. That is also possible. But seasonal rainfall should definitely be there. So we can look for options that has got both 4 and 5. Only this is there. But fire is equally probable. Grazing herbivores is also probable. So we have to choose between C and D, and in that obviously C seems more likely. See, this is where elimination and having a logical flow helps. Otherwise we'll be stuck at this soil property or we will be clubbing this 4 and 5 and arriving at this one. At the same time ignoring the fact that fire and grazing herbivores does play a crucial role in that. So we tend to mark this question wrong. So soil property might have an impact, but seasonal rainfall definitely have an impact. Fire and grazing herbivores, they are like the key players for the savanna region, and the reason as to why that region looks like this. So that is there. So 2, 3, 4, I will be going with C. So 61C, that's the answer. So I hope you understand. Soil property seems probable, but the options are given in such a way that we cannot choose it over this. And if there was an option that included all of these, soil properties could be a right option, but I know it's not the right option, but in actuality we might have chosen that, and I'm just saying it. Okay, then moving on, there is no particular takeaway for that. Just learn about the characteristics of forest biomes, evergreen, deciduous, then savanna, montane, etc. Moving on, next question. Which of the following factors or policies were affecting the price of rice in India in the recent past? Okay. Price of rice. Minimum support price, government's trading, government stockpiling, consumer subsidies. Price of rice. And think about which of the following has an impact on the supply of rice. Minimum support price obviously determines the price. So that is there. Government trading obviously has an impact on supply and thereby price. Government stockpiling definitely has got an impact on supply. Consumer subsidy directly is price related. So everything seems likely and everything seems like a factor affecting price of rice. This everything can affect the price of rice. Even a failed monsoon can affect the price of rice because of supply demand. Here few things we need to understand: supply, demand and price. So supply, demand, price. Here two of these factors play a crucial role in price, and these two play a crucial role in supply and demand supplies. So all of it seems likely. It hasn't mentioned which are the supply factors or price factors or anything of that sort. Which of the following factors or policies are affecting price of rice? It's a very general question, so everything is possible. So that's it. Takeaway is MSP system and Kharif and Rabi crops in MSP. This really helps. Actually, having an idea about which all crops are Rabi, which all crops are Kharif really helps. And to begin with, use the MSP system, MSP crops, because questions will most likely be based on the MSP crops. So, and even if something outside the MSP is asked, you can eliminate it. Okay, this really helps. So keep an eye on that. There are at least 22 crops, and just classify them as Kharif and Rabi. And to make the learning easy, find the characteristics of Kharif crops and find the characteristics of Rabi crops, and this have a mental picture so that you don't forget it. Learning the crops by name, there is a chance that you will forget it, but have an idea about that and then you can eliminate it. Next one, with reference to Indian elephants, consider the following statements. The leader of an elephant group is a female. Okay, the maximum gestation period can be 22 months. Oh, very factual, no idea. An elephant can normally go on calving till the age of 40 years only. There is an only given, but maybe it could be right given their lifespan, maybe, but no idea. Among the states in India, the highest elephant population is in Kerala. Since we are from Kerala, that's something we should be knowing. We haven't got an award for. We have got an award for a lot of things, but for having the highest elephant population, it's not something we had an award for. And there is a good chance that places like Karnataka exist just close to us, which has got a much larger forest cover and species diversity, especially these big mammals. So Karnataka seems probable, Assam seems probable. Anyways, Kerala is not the highest. It does have a lot of elephant population, but even Tamil Nadu for that matter will have more population than Kerala. So this could be wrong. So we are left with 1, 2 and 3 only. One thing we know that elephant has got a matriarchal social structure, that we know. So one is right. So that is there. So we can choose the answer. As in, we have eliminated 4, and then we are left with A and C, and one is right. There are few species. There are few big mammals which has got a matriarchal social structure. Hyenas also got matriarchal structure, and elephant also has that. So this is the right statement, and that's why we arrive at the answer as 1. A. Big mammals, their breeding nature, this includes the gestation period, and whether matriarchal or not. Okay, this really helps. So species like hyena is also matriarchal, so have an idea about that. They might club these species and ask which among the following has got a matriarchal social structure. So this is a possible question when it comes to environment and ecology. So that's it. Then moving on, the next question. Okay, with reference to India's biodiversity, Ceylon frogmouth, copper-cith barbet, grey-chinned minivet, and white-throated redstart are. Okay, the name Ceylon frogmouth. Okay, something the particular animal in question has got a mouth that's similar to a frog. Okay, copper-cith barbet, grey-chinned minivet, white-throated redstart. Okay, I'm looking for a name that is similar to a name of something I know. This white-throated redstart kind of hit me. Like it sounded similar to flame-throated bulbul, which is a bird. But I could be wrong, because there could be reptiles or amphibians which has got similar naming, which I don't know, because we cannot learn any of these. So white-throated redstart sounds very similar to flame-throated red bull or flame-throated red bull. So the flame-throated bulbul, not red bull, it's bulbul. So it's a bird. That's one thing. Okay, if I absolutely have no idea and I am short of my attempts, like I couldn't attempt 90 plus questions, then I will be attempting this question based on that logic. But if I have enough attempts and I absolutely have no clues, then I will be leaving this question. But I have gone through the PYQs and something similar has been asked in the PYQ. That is how I was able to solve this question, because this barbet, minivet are all related to birds. These usages, these species are all bird species. They are small birds, and these barbet, minivet are all bird species. This is one information I got from the PYQs. So that also helped. Also this white-throated redstart, similar to flame-throated bulbul, seemed very similar. So I went with the answer B, A, as in birds. So the takeaway is that remember these species, the 4 species that are mentioned, like Ceylon frogmouth, copper-smith marmot, grey-chinned minivet, and white-throated redstart. These could be asked, or like these could be given as options in the coming years, and you will be able to eliminate it. The same way golden mahseer was mentioned in few questions in different form. First of all, which was a protected species, and in another question, which among the following is a reptile or an amphibian, question like that, and in that mahseer was given, and if you know mahseer was a fish, we could eliminate that. So species like these, exact species, the Ceylon frogmouth, copper-smith marmot, grey-chinned minivet, white-throated redstart, just have an idea that they are all birds and keep it in your mind. And just now itself, you don't have to keep it for later. Okay, these are the names of birds, and minivet, barbet, they are mostly connected to birds, and this white-throated redstart and similar to flame-throated bulbul. This is not a very general or universal logic, but something similar sounding can be used. And if you know something that ring a bell about something that you know about a species that you know about, then choose that. If you have absolutely no clue, and if you have enough attempts, your requisite attempt level is reached in the examination, then try to skip this question. That's my recommendation. And these are the few takeaways. Barbet minivets are birds, and try to go through the species here and understand that they are all birds. So that's it. So we'll be winding up our session about outliers, and from the next week onwards we will be having a subject wise approach where we'll be discussing questions subject wise, and few takeaways will be given, and I think I'll be giving you some suggestions as to improve your study or how to approach the program. And also if you need to make a timetable or a schedule for your study, if you're struggling to do that, or struggling to fix struggling to get in touch with the study format, or struggling to keep up with the pace and find discipline, don't worry, get in touch with our team. We can really help you absolutely free of cost. It's just like talking to a mentor that is always available. Not just me, our teams are available, so you can get in touch with us, get in touch with Gallant IAS for that matter. Justin sir will also be there. So don't feel worried about that. If you're really struggling to find a schedule, find it difficult to get to the discipline or the continuous process, and you feel like you're losing it and you're feeling you're directionless, don't mind, don't worry, and don't hesitate to get in touch with Gallant IAS. People like me, Justin sir, are here to help you out. Okay, so stay tuned, and we'll see you soon with a more advanced session next week. So see you. Bye. Advanced session next week. So see you.